Hello. Let's talk about Tulsi Gabbard and her responses to Julian Assange's recent arrest at the Ecuadorian embassy. But before we do that, subscribe to this channel if you're new to it. You are now watching the most watched Black independent media that covers politics on the left. Well, we know Tulsi Gabbard has a reputation for being courageous, outspoken, and a straight shooter when she stepped down from her vice chair position at the DNC and endorsed Bernie Sanders.
Most important quality in our president is their job as a commander-in-chief. As a soldier and as a war veteran, I know firsthand the cost of war. In my deployment to Iraq, I worked in a medical unit where every single day I saw and experienced that high human cost every single day. Bernie Sanders has good judgment and foresight to be able to make decisions about where America should deploy its military power and where it shouldn't deploy its military power. We see a clear contrast with that with Hillary Clinton, who has shown through her record her interventionist wars of regime change,
thus creating herself a contentious relationship, to say the least, with the Democratic Party. Fast forward to just yesterday. Tulsi Gabbard made comments on several networks about the arrest of Julian Assange. Let's discuss that, as well as Bernie Sanders' comments, or lack of comments, and other notable figures who have spoken out regarding Julian's arrest. Here goes Tulsi Gabbard on MSNBC's Hardball with Chris Matthews.
U.S. And I'm joined right now by U.S. Representative and 2020 presidential candidate Tulsi Gabbard of Hawaii. Congresswoman, thank you for this. I wonder what your view is, because I don't know exactly what it is. What do you make of our effort to extradite and indict and punish probably Julian Assange?
I'm deeply concerned by what's happened today. We look back at the Obama administration's decision during his time not to do this, not to try to extradite Assange and charge him because of their concern about how this government action would impinge on freedom of the press. This is a blow to transparency and a blow to a free press when you have a situation where our government, is in a position where they can basically create this climate of fear against somebody or those who are publishing things that they don't like or saying things that they don't like. And that's the concern here. This is a threat to journalists, but it's also something that threatens every American, because the message that we are getting, that the American people are getting by what's happened here today is, be quiet, toe the line, otherwise there will be consequences.
What happens at the Mueller report if we get a good look at it next week and it's not too heavily redacted? And we get a look at it and it shows that Wikileaks, Assange himself, worked with the Russians to put out their attacks on the Democratic candidate Hillary Clinton in 2016. Is that journalism?
I don't think it's helpful for anyone to deal in hypotheticals. I think it's important, and I've called from the very beginning for the Mueller report to be released so that we in Congress and the American people can take a look at it and see what's in there.
Okay, so Chris Matthews makes a point here to ask Tulsi Gabbard, what does she think about the extradition, the indictment, and the possible punishment of Julian Assange? And her response is, well, the Obama administration had ample time to secure an indictment for Julian Assange, and they opted not to. And she cites the freedom of the press, the First Amendment, or reasons why Obama did not pursue that. And that's not entirely true. In fact, the Obama administration vigorously pursued to indict Julian Assange. The reasons for the Obama administration not indicting Julian Assange had nothing to do at all with freedom of the press. In fact, the Obama administration set precedents of vigorously, aggressively, and unconstitutionally, I would add, going after whistleblowers. Even though America has a long-standing tradition of journalistic integrity when it comes to all types of publications that really bolstered journalism and made landmark journalism, the Panama Papers, the Pentagon Papers, the Snowden releases, all the way up to, even the freaking Donald Trump tax returns releases. I mean, we as a country have always stood on the side of freedom of the press, and regardless of the means in which the information is obtained, if it is of public good to release that information, then we supported it. And Obama was in direct contradiction to that. He did not support freedom of the press. In fact, the Obama administration would have went after Julian Assange and got an indictment, but it was because they would have to also go after CBS and MSNBC and CNN and the Washington Post and the New York Times and the New York Post and the Guardian and any other news entity that published the same documentation that Wikileaks published. That's the real reason why the Obama administration did not pursue charges of indicting Julian Assange. And also, this is really, so the Espionage Act is the reason or the charge that they're using against Julian Assange to extradite him. That's the indictment, not anything to do with 2016. It's about hacking. And the Obama administration pursued this line of an indictment as well. And they would have pursued it and also secured an indictment using the Espionage Act, but they didn't because they couldn't prove that Julian Assange actually helped Chelsea Manning hack into any computers. If they could have proved it, they would have used it. That's my belief. My belief is that the threat of a WikiLeaks is so paramount to the U.S. government and all our dealings across the globe, the PR nightmare that it caused. Yes, if they could have used it, if Obama could use it, he would go after it. And we all know that the Trump administration, particularly under Mike Pompeo and Jeff Sessions when he was Attorney General, they vowed to secure an indictment on Julian Assange and to get done what Obama couldn't get done. And I also believe that it's not about actually getting a court decision to jail Julian Assange. It's about intimidating and deterring anyone else from doing what Julian Assange has done. The precedents that will be set here by the sheer charging of Julian Assange is what we're talking about. And as far as is this a partisan issue, it's really not. I mean, we have Donald Trump on one side of this equation who has been using WikiLeaks, which we'll get to later, but the Republicans and the Democrats were on the opposite sides of this. The Democratic Party, for the most part, were supportive of the release of the Iraq-Afghanistan war diaries that Chelsea Manning released. So there was pressure on Obama to assist and to commute the sentence of Chelsea Manning. But the Republicans have always been, for the most part, generally speaking, absent of, say, like a Rand Paul, they've always wanted Julian Assange and WikiLeaks to be prosecuted for the publication of documents. This is not new. We got another clip of Tulsi Gabbard. This time she's with Jake Tapper of CNN.
More Democratic presidential candidate Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard of Hawaii. Congresswoman, aloha. Thanks for joining us.
Aloha, Jake. Good to see you.
So you served 2 tours of duty in the Middle East. You're currently a major in the Army National Guard. Assange, along with Chelsea Manning, spread classified information that prosecutors at Manning's trial claimed could have brought harm to U.S. service members in Iraq and Afghanistan. Do you agree with that? And what do you think about Assange's extradition and prosecution in the U.S.?
Look, over time, there hasn't been any proof that that has been brought to bore. And what we have seen is that so much of the information that's been released has informed the American people about actions that were taking place that they should be aware of. It provided transparency around issues both related to civil liberties as well as actions that our military was taking in the Middle East that they should not have been. So really, I think what's happening here is some form of retaliation coming from the government saying, hey, this is what happens when you release information that we don't want you to release. And I think that's why this is such a dangerous and slippery slope, not only for journalists, not only for those in the media, but also for every American, that our government can and has the power to kind of lay down the hammer to say, be careful, be quiet, and fall in line. Otherwise, we have the means to be able to come after you.
So you don't think that he should have been extradited, and you don't support his prosecution in the U.S.?
I think the charges about hacking, look, those can and should be worked out in the court of law. My point is that I think there's a bigger issue at play here. There's a reason why the Obama administration chose not to extradite and prosecute Assange, because they understood the danger. They understood the danger of the government coming in and controlling essentially what information is and is not being released. We can go back to the release of the Pentagon Papers. as an example. We can look to how the American people have benefited from some of this information being released. So I think we've got to look at it within this larger context here and make sure that we understand what's at stake and actually the danger of what happens when we have people in government, whether it's this administration or a future administration, basically saying, hey, look, we can call WikiLeaks a foreign intelligence agency. We can designate an individual as a foreign asset or this or that, simply because they don't like the information that's being published.
Jake Tapper shows clearly here that he is not a journalist that you should pay much attention to, particularly when it comes to WikiLeaks, Julian Assange, or this subject matter all in general. Just the framing of the question to Tulsi Gabbard, where he says,
spread classified information. Assange, along with Chelsea Manning, spread classified information.
See, Jake Tapper's being very deceptive here as he tries to fuse together Julian Assange and Chelsea Manning as if they worked in cohorts to get the information out of the government computers. When in reality, that's not even what the allegations are. The allegation is not that Julian Assange and Chelsea Manning are a team. That's not it. But that Chelsea Manning had got out, had already released 100,000 documents to WikiLeaks. And then when she tried to get more documents out, she had a problem and she asked Julian Assange, do you have suggestions of how I can get in this computer? That's what this allegation is about. That's what the indictment is about. But Jake Tapper didn't care because Jake Tapper wants to paint the narrative that they are a team. The slipperiness of Jake Tapper continues as he asks Tulsi Gabbard this question.
So you don't think that he should have been extradited and you don't support his prosecution in the U.S.?
I think the charges about hacking, look, those can and should be worked out in the court of law.
So you don't think that he should have been extradited and you don't support his prosecution in the U.S.?
I think the charges about hacking, look, those can and should be worked out in the court of law.
The thing about that answer is that's exactly why Julian Assange has been apprehended and is facing extradition and indictment. All right, is actually for hacking of a computer. That's what the allegation is. And if you say, well, that's something that needs to be looked into, well, that's what the government is doing right now. The U.S. government wants to look into that. That's the whole purpose of the extradition. So I think here, I don't feel good about this response. It was very quick, but I'm against the extradition of Julian Assange. I think this is all trumped up charge based on everything that I've seen. Once again, I believe if the U.S. government had any information, any evidence that Julian Assange hacked a computer, we would have known about it 2 years ago. She goes on to make, better comments that I can get behind more forcefully, right? But I will say, Tulsi Gabbard is one of very few politicians who have spoken this plainly and this forthright about Julian Assange and who dare to speak against the Democratic Party. Because remember, the Democratic Party is after Julian Assange. They carry an animus towards Julian Assange for the loss of Hillary Clinton in the 2016 general election. That's a lot of what this is all about. So we have a situation where we have Republicans and Democrats on the same side, and both on the side of the deep state, both on the side of the CIA and the security organizations, security agencies. So that's where we are there. I think that Tulsi Gabbard isn't as much as stepping up as it's sort of like that cartoon, that joke that I've seen where they ask a question, they say, hey, who wants to volunteer? And there's a line of people and everyone except one steps backwards and there's left this one person who's standing where they were. And to the naked eye, it looks like they're standing forward or they stepped forward when they just did move backwards. And that's what Tulsi Gabbard's doing here. I think she deserves credit for it, but I just want to make it clear that this is a tough situation because you are going against the left, the right, the middle, all sides here. It's very masterful what they've done here with Julian Assange. How they've been able to paint him. For instance, here goes a writer for the New York, from the New Yorker by the name of Jelani Cobb. He says that Julian Assange is not a journalist. Not a journalist at all. Though, here goes a list of all of the awards, journalistic awards, that Julian Assange has won. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Do you think it's possible that Jelani Cobb has no idea that Julian Assange has won all these awards? Do you also think it's possible that Jelani Cobb has no idea that Julian Assange has been nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize on several occasions? I think he does know that. And I think it doesn't matter. They don't care. I've received questions, and I've noticed on social media, many on the left are wondering, what about Bernie Sanders? What has been his response to this? What does he think about Julian Assange? And all I can tell you is there's been no response from Bernie Sanders or his campaign in regards to Julian Assange's arrest. Now, I think that's going to change over the weekend, whether Bernie Sanders likes it or not, because he will not be able to appear on any network, cable network, without having the question asked, what do you think about Julian Assange? And Bernie will have to take a position. I can only hope that it's at least as bold, as forthright and undeniable and devoid of word salad as Tulsi Gabbard's response. That would be great. So, yes, I'm disappointed that Bernie Sanders has not spoken about this issue with Julian Assange, but I also want to make it clear to individuals, everyone watching, that this is a political football at this moment. Like, this is going to be a determining factor. The negative energy that has been able to be hoisted upon Wikileaks and Julian Assange is tremendous. And it would be political, I want to say suicide. It would be very damaging to Bernie Sanders or any politician to be but so forthcoming or but so supportive of Julian Assange when you have a predominant amount of liberals and an overwhelming amount of Republicans who felt and have felt historically that WikiLeaks should have been, Julian Assange should have been prosecuted way back under the Bush era. So what room is there really left for Bernie Sanders or any other politician to be so forthcoming and to say, yes, I support Julian Assange? I mean, we want to hear that, but politically it's almost a kill switch on your campaign. So, and that's not saying that I don't want Bernie Sanders to speak out about it. Let's not be so blinded by our own concerns of Julian Assange that we don't see clearly that what this would cost Bernie Sanders. I understand that Tulsi Gabbard is taking a risk by making these bold statements for supporting Julian Assange. Though she hasn't said, I support Julian Assange, she said, I support free press. But also, here's a question. Would Tulsi Gabbard be so supportive of WikiLeaks if she were the front runner? It's very easy to say what one would do. It's very different to do that thing when you are the one in the crosshairs of doing that thing. And if a front runner, right, made the claim that they supported WikiLeaks, would they remain the front runner? See, this is where we get into pragmatism and all these other isms that we do not like. But we can't ignore them. Doesn't mean we agree with them. Doesn't mean we even support going that direction. But we do consider them in our commentary. We do have the conversation. We don't just jump on one side of this thing and pretend that we don't have to deal with the reality. All right, so we talked about Bernie Sanders. I'd like to talk about someone else too. Someone who's making a lot of waves who made a comment. Senator Mike Vale. Former senator from Alaska, also Democratic primary candidate back, I think it was 2008. So you may know him from these comments.
There's a little moderator discretion here. Senator Gravel, that's a weighty charge. Who on this stage exactly tonight worries you so much?
Well, I would say the top-tier ones. They've made statements. Oh, Joe, I'll include you too. You have a certain arrogance. You want to tell the Iraqis how to run their country. I got to tell you, we should just plain get out. just plain get out. It's their country. They're asking us to leave, and we insist on staying there. And why not get out? What harm is it going to do? Oh, you hear the statement, well, my God, the soldiers will have died in vain. The entire deaths of Vietnam died in vain. And they're dying in vain right this very second. And you know what's worse than a soldier dying in vain? Is more soldiers dying in vain.
Mike Vale was a voice of reason then. He's a voice of reason now. He made this comment on Twitter. He said, with the arrest and possible extradition of Julian Assange, the U.S. comes ever closer to an authoritarian police state. Assange must be pardoned immediately. Anything else is unacceptable. Yeah, it is unacceptable. So we have Mike Vale, we have Tulsi Gabbard, that's it. That's literally it. So I just want us all to be very clear about what we're dealing with here in regards to, this is a horrifying situation where we have the Republican Party, the Democratic Party agreeing. Whenever the Republican Party and the Democratic Party agree on anything, I get very worried. Last but not least, we have Donald Trump. Now, we all know Donald Trump in the past has been supportive of Wikileaks.
The feud between the president-elect and the press is heating up. Donald Trump blasting the media for saying that he agrees with Wikileaks founder Julian Assange. Trump tweeting, quote, "The dishonest media likes saying that I am in agreement with Julian Assange. Wrong. I simply state what he states. It is for the people to make up their own minds as the truth. The media lies to make it look like I am against, quote, intelligence, when in fact I'm a big fan."
I just want to play this to frame how our president has viewed this organization in the past. Listen.
This just came out. WikiLeaks. I love WikiLeaks.
This WikiLeaks stuff is unbelievable. Another one came in today. This WikiLeaks is like a treasure trove.
Getting off the plane, they were just announcing new WikiLeaks, and I wanted to stay there, but I didn't want to keep you waiting. Well, I love reading those WikiLeaks.
He was happy about WikiLeaks. I can't wait to read the WikiLeaks. And now, amazingly, Donald Trump says he didn't know anything about WikiLeaks. Sudden memory loss. Now, Donald Trump is also in a bad place as president who just got out of or just disentangled himself from Russia collusion investigation that went on for over 2.5, almost 3 years. And now he's back in it. Here we go with this Julian Assange. I can't imagine he wants to get back in the middle of a Russia conversation anytime soon. And that's where the Democratic Party wants to take this conversation. Believe that. There's some who believe that they want to bring Julian Assange to the U.S. on the precursor of an indictment on hacking, knowing that's not going to make it. That's going to be thrown out. They're not going to be able to prove that Julian Assange tried to hack a computer that Chelsea Manning was sitting in front of. But that they were going to move towards trying to get Julian Assange for other charges related to the 2016 and related to Russia. So that's what we believe is going to happen here. You know, I'll say that Donald Trump is not in a great situation. And once again, as we want to say, well, why doesn't Donald Trump just do the right thing? Well, it's Donald Trump. And two, like I said earlier, the Republicans and the Democrats, they both agree. One side has never liked WikiLeaks. They've always wanted prosecution of Julian Assange and WikiLeaks. The other side, still seething over the loss of Hillary Clinton and using Julian Assange as a scapegoat for that loss. Not the actions of the DNC themselves, not the actual Pied Piper strategy where the Democratic Party, where the Hillary Clinton campaign instructed Democratic operatives to funnel stories that supported Trump or gave publicity, free publicity to Donald Trump, thus creating this Pied Piper, this larger-than-life figure that Donald Trump was, exasperating that, blowing that up and making his candidacy possible. No, they don't want to blame that. They want to blame WikiLeaks. They want to blame Julian Assange. And they've had a lot of help from the likes of cable media news, such as Rachel Maddow, who somewhat question if that's actually news, if not just public relations work. A spokesmodel, brand representative of the neoliberal class. So, yeah, all I can tell you is that as information becomes available, I will update you to that. You know, Julian Assange in WikiLeaks, it's not about whether you like Julian Assange as a person. It's about the precedent that will be set if this is allowed to continue. What we have is a direct attack on press. And we know the contentious relationship that Donald Trump has had with the media that so many of his followers have supported. The fake news. And yes, we have a problem with news that is slanted and biased and downright just a lie. But to say we're just going to prosecute publishers of that information that may be of national interest, I think that's a very destructive course to take, even for a Donald Trump. Become a member of the Tim Black Wolfpack by signing up on the link below or watch another video. I've got a couple other videos. My earlier video on Julian Assange's extradition is here. I'll see you on the next one.